National Hispanic Heritage Month started as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson in 1968. By 1988, it was expanded to a full month under President Ronald Reagan. It starts on September 15th and ends on October 15th. You may wonder why it starts in the middle of the month. Well, it's significant because several Latin American countries celebrate their independence within this month. But most importantly, this is a time for us to honor the contributions of our Latin brothers and sisters. Tonight, we kick off season 2 of Everybody with an author and an illustrator who will tell us about some of these amazing women. I'm so happy you're joining us.
Welcome to Everybody with Angelou Williamson, a public affairs program produced in partnership with PBS LA. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. And now your host, Dr. Argelia Williamson.
Argelia Atilano and Alvarado are here with us tonight. I am so happy that we have them here as our guests. Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you, Angela. We're so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for your new book that will be coming out. So before we get into talking about your new book, please tell me first just a little bit about both of you, and then everyone always wants to know, how did you two meet to do this incredible book? So which one wants to start?
Oh gosh.
You start.
Okay, I'll start. Yes. We're the double A team.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even say that. Okay, that could have saved me a lot of time in the beginning.
Just call us a double A team from this point on.
You're so sweet.
But yes, my name is Argelia Atilano. I am Mexican American. I was born in Chicago, but I was raised in San Pedro in the South Bay area. I did my middle school in Mexico, actually. But then I came back and I ended up finished being raised in East LA, East Los Angeles. So I went to Garfield High School. Go Bulldogs! From there I went to Loyola Marymount University, where I double majored in communication studies and Spanish literature. And that's where my love for books began, especially with Latin American stories, right? I did 20 years at Univision. I just actually finished a run, hopefully I won't cry right now, 18 years on K-Love 107.5 FM. Yeah, that just happened, big career move. But now I'm so blessed because I get to dedicate myself 100% to Grandes Dreamers, which is, as an author, my first children's book. I had released a previous book with my husband, Amor al Aire, with Omar Velasco, who was my co-host for 18 years. Oh yeah, we can talk for hours, but I will not go there. Today it's all about the book. So I'm very excited to be sharing this dream with my bestie now, Ana Alvarado, who also is from East LA.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So tell us a little bit about you as well. Did you also go to high school here?
We didn't. So I did. So I'm third generation Mexican descent. And I was raised in East Los Angeles, and I went to school 2 cities away. Had I gone to school in my neighborhood, I would have gone to school with Argelia. But didn't, went to school 2 cities away. Found myself in Washington State as a young adult, went to art school out there while I was working on climbing the corporate ladder. And I just fell in love with art. And it was something that I moonlighted on the side as I was raising money for different nonprofit organizations, because that was my background. And so as moonlighting as an artist, growing family, I'm a mom of 3. I have 2 older boys and a little girl. I found ways to kind of balance them, and I then decided, you know what, I really feel like I need to do more. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna leave the corporate world behind. My daughter is still in elementary school, and I'm going to do this. So in 2019, I decided to leave that world behind and focus full-time on my work. And the opportunity of being able to do this from home and being able to really dive into it and just put out my best work, I feel, is really just a wonderful feeling.
Just the book cover alone is amazing. And we are going to definitely talk about this book, but you both have touched on issues that I think would be very important to the audience right now. Both of you are moms.
Yes,
and mid-career, you're making transition.
Yes.
And you're making this transition. And it sounds like this transition is very personal for both of you. So I would love for each of you to talk about how it's personal, and then tell us how you end up meeting each other.
Oh my gosh. Should we do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive in. Yeah. Yes, I have 2 daughters. They're 10 and 12 now. And this started with Camila, my 12-year-old now. But when she was in 3rd grade, she came home with the school project to give life to an iconic woman. We went down the list, and sadly enough, there was a lot of amazing women, but there was no Latina figures. So the story repeats, because that's what I went through when I was in elementary back in the 80s. So I was very disappointed, because you would think that by 2018, life would be different, or it would be a different scenario for my daughters. And that's the day I decided to do something about it. I told my daughter, I'm going to write a book just for you and for Annabella, my 10-year-old. But that was like me just speaking out of emotion. Yes. That same year, I met Alvarado through her art. I went to an event to moderate for Proyecto Pastoral, which is an amazing organization out in Boyle Heights that sees and helps and provides support for women that are victims of violence, domestic violence, single moms, homeless moms. And I was moderating this event, and at the end of the event, I was gifted a beautiful art piece that happened to have the signature of Ana Alvarado. I took a picture of it, posted on my Instagram account. Her fans started popping up saying, oh my gosh, you have Ana Alvarado's art, she's amazing, and they tagged her. And I said, I want to check out this Ana Alvarado. I clicked on it, was welcomed into her colorful, vibrant world, and I said, this is the woman that I want to illustrate this idea that I have brewing in my head. And then we met, and the rest is history.
That's it. It's a love story.
Well, it is a love story because, I mean, without knowing each other, you both are leading the same paths in a way. And then how you meet is because you both are giving back to a community and a cause that is dear to probably personally your heart and to the community as well. And so then you come together to do this.
Yes.
And so how does this start? How do you drag this sweet lady into this?
It was very easy, matter of fact, because we started communicating through Instagram, through DMs, literally.
Yes.
Right.
And she said, let's meet up in downtown LA. She was still working in the corporate world. So we figured an hour, just, an icebreaker. This is who I am. And she's like, oh, I know who you are, Kayla, 107.5. And I was like, well, you're an amazing artist. And we put our phones down.
We did.
And 3 hours went by, where we shared our dreams and our passions. And it's funny because I wanted to write this book, but I don't know how to draw. I'm clueless. And she wanted to put out a beautiful book out in the world with her art, but she didn't want to write.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I wanted to illustrate a book, so
Well,
this
and
is
that's how you
mine.
tell your stories through your illustration.
Right. That's how I communicate. Art is it's my form of communication, and like Argelia mentioned, it started with our girls. They were my daughter Tatiana is 11 years old, and I have 2 older boys, and so seeing a little girl and then being able to say, well, wait a minute, I'm buying you all these books of all these amazing women. Talk about like the books that are out there, and I'm like, there's not very many for her, and especially for her age group. Okay. So it worked out perfect. We say it's divine timing, right? We really do believe in that. And then we came together, and as we were working on it, as she was writing, as I'm drawing, start to realize, wait, hold up. This isn't just for our daughters, this is for us. This is like our inner child saying, we wish we had this book. Yeah. I feel like when you write, I create, those are our footprints that we leave on the world. And that is something. I do have to say that when I went to take the books over to the library the other day, I went into the room, I saw all the books, and I got very emotional because I thought, oh, I'm contributing. I'm part of this.
So you are.
Yeah, I know that we are contributing because there's a void. There's definitely a need. When I did my research as a mom to help my children find those resources, I went to so many public libraries. Sadly enough, there's compilations of many women, but there's not a book dedicated for this specific age group. And even if we found a book, it was just a paragraph, not even a paragraph, a line. And I tell my girls, and that's what we want children to know, that these Latina icons are not a mention. They're not a line. They're not even a paragraph. They're more than that. And so this is where mommy comes in, and I feel like I was back in college doing all this research with the help of a research consultant that went to my alma mater, Loyola Marymount University, which happened to be my Spanish linguistics professor.
Oh.
So she came in handy when it came
You
to.
might want to give me her name.
Yeah, she came in really handy. And I saw those red marks, I'm like, oh man, that's embarrassing, right?
No.
But no, she came in handy, and I just felt like I was in college all over. I was in the zone.
Yes.
Mind you, we're very proud of this book because it's also a bilingual book. It's not a Spanish book, it's not an English book, it's a bilingual book, which is also unique because the few books that are out there by Latinx authors, which we applaud them for doing that amazing work and paving the way, it's catered more to like a younger generation, pre-K, toddler, very early years, but it's either in English or it's either in Spanish. Very little bilingual books. For this age group, there's none. None. We went on all the sites we could find online. We went on stores, and they're very hard to find. If there are out there, we can't find them, and that's a problem because they should be visible. Yes. So that's what pushed us to say, because I had told Anna, we'll write the English one first, and then we'll publish the Spanish one. But then we were like, no, let's give our parents and our children 2 to 1.
Let's dream big.
Well, and normally that's what you see. You see the first one is printed in English, and then the next one is printed. And so you actually started, I mean, not only are you leaving a legacy, but now you started a new trend. So yes. Well, we are going to take a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, I want to know, because you talked a lot about research. So I want to know, how did you choose these amazing women? Because some women, we would think, okay, yes, that makes sense. But some women, you brought mention to them that they should have been mentioned a long time ago. So how did you find that? And then tell us a little bit about this process too, okay? So hold on, ladies, we'll be right back. And you hold on and come back and join me with my conversation with Argelia and Anna as we talk a lot about this book, especially why it's important right now.
Sandra Cisneros, novelist, poet, dreamer. Being the only girl crowded by 6 brothers and treated as a princess was something Sandra detested. The Mexican traditions and household chores imposed on her would prepare her for marriage and nothing else, but she saw life differently. She took refuge at the city library where she shared magical moments with her mother, surrounded by books. One day, something came over her, and she began to jot down her painful reality on paper. Through the power of words, Sandra found her voice and a literary star was born. She dedicated herself to highlighting the adversities and injustices experienced in Mexican-American culture. Her most recognized work is The House on Mango Street. Translated in over 20 languages, this masterpiece is now standard curriculum for schools and universities. So pick up a pen and paper now and let your imagination run wild. Only then can you build a sacred place for your dreams.
Welcome back. I am here to continue my conversation with these 2 amazing ladies, mothers, authors, and illustrator. So let's talk about this book. Before we went to break, you talked about the research that goes in to making sure that this book was complete so that your daughters had something as part of your legacy. But my question to you is, how did you choose these amazing women? Because these are just a few of several who have made an impact in our country.
Tip of the iceberg. I know.
Yes.
We're barely scratching the surface. Our list was long. It was literally Anna and I doing the research. Literally, first it was like top of our head, just throwing names.
Right.
Like
Who do you like?
just throwing our names.
No,
throwing
exactly.
Names. Like,
It was
my
one of those.
faves?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who are my favorites?
I'm fan number one of,
Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Yes.
A lot of her ideas just was in sync with mine. So we had no issue there. But then our list got long.
Yeah.
And then we had to say, okay, do we want 10? Do we want 12? We even thought about 20.
Yeah.
But then we thought about the age group. 8 to 12. We don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want to say, oh, it's a lot to read. We want them to engage them and see that it's very friendly to read and fun. But we also thought about, you know what? Let's stay with 12 months out of the year, and then we work on volume 2. And then volume 3, and then volume 4, and we create a series.
Well, thanks for taking my follow-up question. What's next? Okay, but I'll let you go with that now.
And then I'll let Anna explain to you the cutting off process. Who didn't make? We're not going to say who didn't make the cut on the first volume, but how did we end up staying with these first 12, right?
Right.
It sounds like it was difficult.
It was.
It was. We actually, it was one of those decisions where you have to take away personal feelings, right? And you have to stop and you have to really look at it and think, why does the world need to celebrate this accomplishment and all these accomplishments? And how important is this? And one of the things that we thought was extremely important was that, we run from our trailblazers who have been around longer versus younger, our youngest being Lori Hernandez, and saying, okay, we want our youth to be able to see them in the present, to watch and follow them, not just read about them as if this is something that happened a long time ago, but to be able to say, this is what they've done, this is what they continue to do, and they're now being mindful and watching, because that's a big impact, to be able to see the trailblazer up there and saying, wow, they're still making moves, they're still paving the way, they're still doing big things. And so that was a big deciding factor. And once we came to terms and agreed on that, which was super easy, a couple of seconds, then it was like, no, these are gonna stay on and these are gonna go on the second volume.
Yeah, and something they all have in common is that they're all born in the United States of America. So we made that distinction. You know what, we're gonna make sure that the first 12 are as American as they can be, right? So that was a beautiful thing to focus on for this volume. The second volume will focus on immigrant Latinas that have contributed enormously to this country because they were here since 2, 3, 4. They're like the dreamers, right? But these grandes dreamers, they're like us, like Ana and I, born in the States, like many of our children, born in the States, that have contributed enormously in so many fields, but that unfortunately, half of them are like hidden figures. Yes, everybody knows Selena, Jennifer Lopez, Rita Moreno, Dolores Huerta, but then what about Sandra Cisneros? What about Silvia Acevedo? What about Olga Custodio? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which I know most everybody knows, but still, we wanted to make sure that those women, just because they're not in the spotlight, doesn't mean that their story has to be hidden. On the contrary, because they're not on the spotlight, we need to put them on the spotlight.
I'm an educator and I want to use this inside my classroom. What advice can you give to me on how to use this book correctly so I'm reaching that population that's never seen people like themselves in a book?
I'm so glad you asked that because this message is we also did it for the teachers. Of course, our biggest dedication is to our children. It's boys and girls, because boys need to know that strong women can make huge difference, and it happens at home with the mom. But it's also for us women to find empowerment through what women have done in the past, right, and in the present. But it takes a village to get that message out.
You're right.
And we want to invite into our village the educators. I know that there's, committees that choose books for our kids' education, and that's fine. That has to be a committee. We're not saying make this the school textbook. We're just saying have it in your classroom. We're just saying, have at least one copy. If you can have 2 or 3, even better. But have one copy as a resource for when Hispanic Heritage Month comes around, like right now, you have a book that will probably resonate with so many, and not just with the Latino kids, with everyone. You know, just like everyone learns about Dr. Martin Luther King, who we love, Harriet Tubman, who I did my report on when I was, you know, in high school. It's about every single child, no matter where you're from, to also learn about these Latina icons. So yes, educators, please, if you're watching this right now, we need your help. We need you to bring this book to your classroom. We're willing to come into schools and do meet and greets and do book readings, whatever it is. She already said, I'll make posters for your classroom, right, Anna?
Yeah.
To decorate your
You
walls.
already just volunteered you on
No,
so I guess you are going to have to do it. But I mean,
I would gladly, yes.
Thank you.
We've talked about that.
Well, hearing your personal story, that's why I had to ask you that question, and because just hearing your story and hearing your story as a mother and trying and feeling that emotion right here, that, you know, we feel that emotion as we're talking about this. I had to ask you, how can educators use this? Because this is your book and it's the legacy, but we need to change the story, and how we change the story is by starting with this book.
Exactly, especially in California,
Right.
now that we have ethnic studies on the table,
Yes.
fortunately. And there couldn't be a better time, seriously. With ethnic studies on the table, the talk of schools and classrooms and teachers including it is gold for us, because we got your book.
Right. And it's as simple as reading the book and creating a space.
Creating the space.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that before we end our conversation, because I think that's a great way to end it as we celebrate this month, is how can we, as I said, educators, but also to parents that, you know, African American parents you mentioned, who can do this, white parents that can pull this book, how can we create that space so we are teaching our children to love all contributions from all people?
I actually, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because with my daughter, and I did it with the boys, but I did it more so because as I got older, really seeing the importance of being able to share the beauty and diversity, right? And being able to see color, because it's so important, and being able to embrace and really just love on one another. And so I remember that Diana's, one of her favorite books was The Fierce 44. It's African American, a compilation book. And being able to share. So one of Tatiana's all-time favorite icon is Maya Angelou. Oh. And so I'm thinking here, I'm teaching her about all of these different leaders, these different iconic people. It was easy enough to pick up a book. It was easy enough to show her a documentary, because it was there, it's available to you. And it's just really creating the space.
I love it.
And I know that sounds so simple, but it really is just finding the time to create the space. Why do you like that person? What did that poem mean to you? What do you think it took to get there? And having that conversation. Oh, kids, their responses are incredible.
I know, and creating space. My 10-year-old is in 5th grade. It's her last year in elementary, LAUSD. And she can't wait to take this book to her classroom. She's the only Latina in the classroom. And she loves that, because that classroom is very diverse, and that's beautiful, right? She needs to see that, like Anna was saying, these beautiful colors and everyone learning from each other. And her biggest highlight this year is to be able to take this book that Mommy wrote and that her friend Ana Alvarado, you know, illustrated, because she can't wait first to show it off that Mommy wrote it, but that this is who we are. And I want to read you about Selena, because she's in love with Selena's story. Oh, she loves everyone, but she just cannot wait for the day to read to her friends that are very diverse, from very diverse backgrounds, about Selena. And that to me is gold, because she knows and loves Selena's music and story and heritage, because I gave it to her. I created that space for her at home. and now she's taking it with pride to her classroom.
So we're going to end our conversation with creating a space for our audience by you, either one of you, telling us how we can get this book and how we can support you as parents and educators.
Well, right now we're focusing on grandesdreamers.com. So if you visit our webpage, which is very vibrant and colorful, thanks to Ana, it's a very easy way to obtain the book on grandesdreamers.com. We have an amazing relationship with LAPL, Public Library of LA, and I know that they're going to have the book available already. Thank you for that support. And I know there's plans, right, to have it in other portals. And as soon as we have that plan, we will obviously share it with you.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll make sure to get all of your social media up too, so that our audience can stalk you and find out.
Please, on
where
Grandes
you're at.
Dreamers.
Yes.
Everything is Grandes Dreamers. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and of course, we're on Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies, for your time this evening.
Thank you.
And thank you for leaving us this incredible legacy, not only for this generation, but for next generations to come.
And thank you for the space that you
Yes,
gave us.
thank you.
And thank you for offering your assistance as an educator. That means the world.
Thank you. I'm so honored. Now you're trying to make me cry before I do my closing. Catch a breath. Ladies, we will definitely be in touch, because when that second edition comes out, you definitely have to come back.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Everybody with Angelou Williamson. Viewers like you make this show possible. Join us on social media to continue this conversation. Good night and stay well.